Hello and welcome to the WiSP Sports Desk with me, Chris Stafford. This is Season 4, Episode 14, and we are recording on April the 6th. Now, this week, normally, if you're a regular listener to the show, that you'll know we're usually all about the news of the day from around the world of women's sports. But we're going to mix it up a little bit this week because Nancy is still away on vacation. And if you listened last week, you know that we had a guest co-host. Peggy Shin joined me for that. But this week is going to be different to what we ever do because my friend Marci Kornegay is joining me. Marci, welcome to the program. We always wanted to have an excuse to record a show together, and we've got it.
Thank you, Chris. And it's so exciting to be here. And I'm glad I don't have a list of news to report and that we can just have a little bit of fun talking today.
Okay, so remind everybody what your sporting background is, because you're fully qualified to be hosting this show without me.
Fully qualified. Okay, well, my background is in golf, and I have been playing and coaching the sport for over 20 years. I recently retired and have got into more of a consulting and nonprofit role, and just enjoying a little bit of life right now.
Enjoying a little bit of life, I would say. You're fully maximizing on your life day to day, and I love what you do. Just to remind everybody that you used to work for WeCoach. That's how we met. And I talked to you, I don't know how many years ago it was, Mars, when we first talked, and you came as a guest on one of our shows, the Amazon show, because we wanted to hear your story of hiking solo the Appalachian Trail. And that is an episode you can listen to. We'll put a link in the show notes at wisports.com so you can go back and listen to that interview. But that's when I really got inspired. When I heard that story of yours, Mars, I got really inspired by your adventurous spirit. And it's something that seems to be in your blood. Have you always had this since a child, that you wanted to go off and meet the challenges out there in nature?
I think so. I think my parents are always saying, Mars, you're wonderful, you're great, but you're maybe a little bit different than most. And yeah, I do. I love to rely on those outside challenges and external ways to be motivated and to be out in nature and see things. But it's really, it's not about the starting or the finish, and it's all the trials and tribulations and everything that's right there in the middle that I really get excited about, because you never know what you're going to get, whether it's a hike or any other type of adventure.
Nothing seems to faze you, though, when you're going out on these mammoth hikes. I mean, hiking the Appalachian Trail is how many miles?
It's just short of 2,200 miles. I don't think about those types of things. I mean, if I thought about how hard it was going to be, the last thing I'd do is want to get off my couch and stop watching YouTube videos about other people hiking it. I want to have my own story to tell. And, as we talked about on that podcast a couple of years ago, there were some really, really cool adventures that happened out there between there were wildfires and the help of strangers and things like that. So you never know what you're going to get. The trail really provides.
And it's mostly hiking that you do, but we're also going to talk about a biking adventure that you and I are going to do. And if I was to pick anybody in the world that I would feel safe about going on a long bike ride with, it would be Marci Kornegay. I'm really, really inspired by this. I'm very, very excited about it. So we're going to tell everybody what that is shortly, because that happens just 2 weeks from now. Actually, we'll be on our first full day. We start on the 19th of April, but we'll tell you more about that in just a moment. I guess we should just get down to a little bit of news of the week. Marci, what's really been sort of headlines around the world this week? Certainly in the US, we'll start with the NCAA basketball Final Four, because that's such a big deal in this country, isn't it?
It is. And that was really what was on my radar recently, especially with how the NCAA championships wrapped up last year, if you are familiar with that, and just the disparities between the men's and women's championship, with obviously the women not getting their fair stake in the game, anything from TV rights to having the proper weight and conditioning equipment ready for the athletes. So it was a really exciting thing to be able to see this year that the NCAA has stepped up their game, that they were able to provide. And, in all jokes aside, if the men got a pasta bar, the women got a pasta bar. The men got a yogurt bar, the women got a yogurt bar. And I think that we're going to continue to see the disparities level out and hopefully equalize that pay gap as well, because that is certainly still the issue that's getting hammered in right now, especially with needing more women in leadership and coaching positions across the board, all sports, but particularly in basketball, both at the collegiate and national level. So, but it was exciting to see the South Carolina Gamecocks come back with their second NCAA title, their first one being in 2017. So Coach Dawn Staley leading her Gamecocks to a 64-49 win over the UConn Huskies, and absolutely snapping the Huskies 11-0 championship run. So now the Huskies in the championship game are 11-1, thanks to the Gamecocks. And from what I've understood from many people that I know that were there on site in Minneapolis, Minnesota at the Target Center, that venue was completely sold out for games. And that's exciting because in the wake of COVID and pandemic talk, having people in the stands cheering on and getting excited about games was something I think not only the city of Minneapolis needed, but the world of basketball and just sports fans in general needed to see on a national scale.
Why do you think basketball is so popular here, Marci? It really seems to be, certainly for schools, colleges, high school colleges, it seems to be the sport of choice. And of course, it leads on to a professional career, and it is an Olympic sport as well. Is it the most promoted sport within the college system?
I think it started out with being able to mirror what the men are doing and being able to, pull the resources and sort of mirror that. And I think that now we're getting to a point where women's basketball can stand on their own with TV rights. They can stand on their own with, in any sort of financial responsibilities that are available. I think the nation is hungry and they're craving more women's sports on TV. And I think the basketball is the vehicle to be able to do that in the States.
Do you have to be a minimum height for basketball to succeed, to truly succeed? Well, because you see of athletes, 5'9" and upwards, well into 6 foot. I think Brittany Griner, of course, she has a sad story to tell right now that's been in the news, but I think she's 6'4" or 6'6", isn't she?
She's a very large woman, and I respect her physical attributes, her mental attributes, and being able to play the game. And I hope that those stay with her, where she is now. I feel like I should have a funny comeback to that question. Do you have to be tall enough? I mean, it was always my excuse why I always sat the bench. I felt like I had to be exactly who I was to sit on the bench during all the basketball teams that I ever played on growing up, just because I'm not that good. But, I look out on the floor and there are amazing athletes of all shapes and sizes. And I think that's what's really cool and equalizes the game of basketball, because there's different positions that you can play that really promote whatever size you are as an athlete. But I think that if you're hungry enough, you can pretty much make anything happen.
Now, there seem to be a good sprinkling of female coaches in basketball. Whenever I turn it on, it seems to be there's always a women's coach. Is that a sport where there are more women coaches than in other sports, do you think?
It's exciting to, I think, you see it on the rise. I don't think it's 100% there yet, but I mean, just looking at the Final Four, you got Tara Vanderveer at Stanford, you got Dawn Staley at South Carolina. Without going back and doing the research, you really see a lot of prominent names that are leading their teams to the spotlight on the national stage. Last year, you had the University of Arizona come out with a national title with Adia Barnes, and I really believe, and thankfully Muffet McGraw agrees with me on this. We have not spoken, but she was the former basketball coach at University of Notre Dame, has a championship title herself, but she agrees that you've got to have more women in power to influence the surge of women that are coming up in the ranks, both as players, as young coaches, and as coaches that have been in their position for, maybe 5 to 10 years. that may or may not believe that they can be on that national stage too. And it's also the likes of Coach Don Staley of the Gamecocks. I mean, when she won in 2017, she cut down the net, she clipped it up into little pieces and mailed it out with a handwritten note to every single Black coach in the NCAA. And that was to give hope that they too can be in that same position that she's in, to give them the opportunity to be able to see that, you know, you can do this. Cards may be stacked against you, but you can do it. And I think that's what's exciting to see is that women coaches are pulling other women coaches up with them instead of knocking them down. You cannot knock women down off the podium when they're trying to climb up. We need more women there.
Yeah, you definitely do. And do you think there's a better attitude then, excuse me, between in the college system to, you know, from men towards women coaches? What's the culture actually like? Do you know?
I think it's going to be a mixed bag. Everywhere you go, there's always a mixed bag, because you're going to have those coaches that will do nothing but make sure that there's always a woman on the bench with them. You know, I look at like Gino Ariema at UConn. He's got a women's staff, and he's done very well with that. You know, the other things across other sports that I see are that I think men are starting to realize that that it's only going to benefit them to have more women surrounded by them. And that's just really the way, you know, the world is starting to go. You want to make sure that you've got the diversity on your staff.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think, you know, it is slowly opening up, isn't it? But certainly the women's basketball is the sport of choice, it seems to be here. And it seems if you ask people, you know, in this country that follow women's sports, which sports they would watch, and it seems to come down to either basketball or soccer, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And I think those are the two opportunities that you see the most on television. You know, and if we can get more sports on television, I think that there's more interest that can be gained, especially by young girls that are coming through, and young boys as well. They need to see those women in those type of positions and see more women competing as well.
Well, you know, there's one sport that hasn't really taken off here yet, although it does happen. This is mainly a Commonwealth sport of cricket. Now, I know you always have a wry smile whenever we talk about cricket. You know, one of these days I'm going to get you to a cricket game, Marci, and you're going to experience this yourself. But yeah, it's hugely popular. I used to play when I lived in England. I played for a few teams. Really love the game. It's complicated to explain the game of cricket to anyone who is not from a Commonwealth country. But nonetheless, it's a sport that has really risen in the women's ranks internationally over the last sort of 10, 15, 20 years, which is really encouraging to see. And that applies to any sport that we see increasing popularity. Netball is another Commonwealth sport, which apparently is the most popular and the biggest rising. It's the biggest climbing in popularity sport. I'm losing my words for this, but it's becoming the most popular team game internationally. It's become more popular faster. It's interesting actually when you think about netball and then you think about basketball. But yeah, that's rising in popularity all the time and increasing its numbers because we start in school. It's like cricket. Well, I don't know how much cricket starts in school for women these days, but certainly netball does. That's a sport of choice in England anyway, and the Commonwealth countries. You know, all sports, all schools with girls have netball. It's more of a female game than it is a men's game. Excuse me. So anyway, going back to cricket, if you listen to the show regularly, you'll know that the Women's World Cup cricket was taking place in New Zealand, and that came to a head this past weekend when Australia, who were clear favourites, they've been unbeaten in any format of the game this year, they took on England, who were the defending champions, because we did actually, I say England, we, being a dual citizen, Mars, we did actually beat India in England 4 years ago, and so we were the defending champion, but we, after a very sticky start to this World Cup series, we, I must say, we lost a few games when, and it took a while to really pick up our form. But we made it through to the final, and we got beaten by 71 runs by Australia, but we put on a really good battle. It was very, very exciting. That took place in Christchurch in New Zealand at the weekend. So congratulations to Australia. Are really on fantastic form. They, there's some sports where they really excel, Mars, Australia, and that's cricket and netball and field hockey, soccer to a certain extent. What do you think of Australia? What sport do you think of when you think of Australia?
I think of basketball.
Yep.
They've had strong basketball teams.
Yeah.
I think of swimmers that have come out of Australia. Yep. In my little bird brain, I also think of the amazing trails that go across the continent and how I want to get over there and get out into their wilderness area. But I don't know. What else are they?
Surfing, of course, they're very good at surfing. Any water sport, they're very good at, and water polo would be another one. Yeah, they're really, really good at and sailing. They're very good at water sports. They have that advantage. But yeah, when you talk about hiking and the things that you love doing, the outback of Australia gives you plenty of opportunity. I have not walked or ridden a bicycle across the country, but I have travelled all over it by land, north, south, east and west. It's a vast, vast country. But yes, lots of hiking opportunities for you out there. But yeah, that's what happened in the world of cricket this week. So congratulations again to Australia. Congratulations to the basketball team from South Carolina. South Carolina Gamecocks. I wonder where they got their name. I always marvel at some of the names of the teams in this country and where they get their names. And of course, there's been soccer going on. We'll have more of that next week as the NWSL and the WSL are really underway now. I should just mention, for the sake of my friend Nancy Gillen, who's the regular co-host on this show, that Leah Williamson, the English player, she's an Arsenal player, the team that I know Nancy supports, her local team. Now Leah has been named as the captain for the upcoming Euros this summer. So congratulations to her. Do you follow soccer? I seem to think that every time I tell you I'm watching an NWSL game, you're not watching it. You're doing something completely different, Marci. So do you have any interest in soccer?
I enjoy watching it when finals come about, and being able to tune in at that point. But I'm more of a headlines drifter. I'll catch things when they get really exciting, especially here in the States as well. When things come to a close, I like to watch the best teams. Yes, I'm a sports fan, but do I sit there and watch and deliberate over every game? Probably not. But I probably should. Maybe I'll do that in retirement.
Yeah. Well, retirement's a long, 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 long way off. But your sport of choice now would be what if you did turn on the TV?
I think that I would still go straight to golf. Yeah. I really enjoy that. And then, of course, you've got the Masters coming up this weekend. And the big headlines around that is, will Tiger Woods complete all 4 rounds of the Masters? So we'll see what happens there.
Are you a fan of his? Would you be supporting him?
I think he's a phenomenal athlete. I don't want to get involved in all of his personal affairs that he has had and had the little news cloud following him around. But I think he is an absolute phenomenal athlete who wants it more than anybody. And it's really hard for me to not get on board with somebody who puts the time and effort in to recover from injuries, recover from setbacks, and to really want to push through. It doesn't matter who you are. So yeah, I'm a fan.
Okay. Well, while you're talking about golf, it's something we do cover, but maybe we should cover more of here. Who are the players, do you think, in the women's side that we should be looking out for this year?
Oh gosh, there's so many phenomenal names, and what I get excited about is every time you turn the LPGA on, it's a different name in the leader circle. But there are such young talent coming through, representing so many different nations. It would be hard for me to pick just a handful of names. So maybe we can corral around that and put some focus on it in a future show.
Yeah, we should do that. Actually, that'd be fun to do. Get your perspective. Let's dig a little bit deeper, because there's so many Asian players that always seem to be making the news. So yeah, let's do that. Let's dive into the LPGA at some point. Nancy would love to do that. Marci, even. You see, I'm embedded with this weekly show with my co-host Nancy Gillen. But Marci Kornegay is my co-host this week. And before we move on to our other story, I wanted to also give a shout out to Iga Swiatek, who became the WTA number one this week. She went to the top of the rankings after winning in Miami last week. So congratulations to her. She beat Naomi Osaka quite convincingly in the final there in Miami. So she's won the Sunshine Double. So good for her. After winning in Indian Wells, she went over to Miami and won that. And I have to say, she's on cracking form. One of the few Polish players that we've ever seen rise so rapidly to the top of the sport. And now she's taken over the number one spot since, of course, Australian Ash Barty announced her retirement and also asked to be taken off the rankings, which I thought was notable. So Iga actually now is number one. So good luck to her. The year ahead bodes well for her. We'll see how she performs on different surfaces. All right, we're going to move on now to the other reason why I've got Marci on the show this week, because she and I are going to do something a little bit different, aren't we, Marci? Why don't you tell everybody what we're going to be up to starting on April the 19th, so less than 2 weeks away.
Yeah, well, from what I understand, and I'm starting to believe it, but life really happens outside of your comfort zone. And you have convincingly talked me into a long stretch of a bike ride. And you're a biker, you love it. You have conditioned your saddle stature, and you are ready to go. And I am more of like feet to the ground type person. So anyway, we're going to go on this long bike ride. We've got almost around 400 plus or minus 20 or so miles on that side, where we're going to dip our toes in the Chesapeake Bay off of the coast of Maryland at Point Lookout State Park. And we're going to ride north to Washington, D.C. We're going to cruise through. Hopefully the cherry blossoms are still in full bloom, go through the National Mall, see some of those sites, and keep pushing through. And at that point, we'll touch base on the C&O Canal, which is the Chesapeake and Ohio Canal that is in Georgetown, that links Georgetown and Cumberland, Maryland together. That's about 185 miles of canal towpath. And as a matter of fact, I would... You've talked me into this thing. So now it's like all hands on deck. Like I have built a map, I've started buying equipment, and I'm super excited about it. But I learned that this towpath that runs alongside the canal and the Potomac River was actually built for mules to walk beside the canal as they towed like the canal boats through, building out more of a Western Renaissance. So I'm going to feel like a complete mule hogging my bike along this towpath. And that's what I'm going to be thinking about the whole time.
And from there?
We will go through the little bitty city of Cumberland, Maryland, and then jump on another canal path called the Great Allegheny Passage, which will take us another 150 miles all the way to downtown Pittsburgh. And I'm excited. I mean, we're going to see a lot of historical perspectives, the industrial history, highlighting sort of that westward expansion of the United States. We're going to see where coal mining, other industries that came through have built up. And apparently the Great Allegheny Passageway is a legendary trail in its own right, especially for bikers. It's actually part of the Rails to Trails Hall of Fame. So we're going to be riding a Hall of Fame towpath. So close to 400 miles. And we're going to be doing this over the course of about a week's time. Not really sure on the timeline. I don't think either one of us have done anything this extravagant before. So I want to know your thoughts on it and how we actually decided this is what we were going to do.
Well, I got a taste for biking in fairly recent years. I mean, I've always biked, since I was a kid, I biked, and then I didn't for a long time because I was riding horses instead. And then I started doing it again. My old back had always complained about being in that position, but thanks to Pilates and a lot of core work, I got to the point a couple of years ago where I could actually stay on a bike for any length of time, or at least for some length of time. But now it's really become my preferred choice of exercise. It's a complete workout. And as you know, I live in Middleburg, Virginia, and it's very hilly around here. There is nowhere flat. So it's a really, really good workout. And it's a great way to just get out and enjoy the countryside as well. I mean, I enjoy hiking like you do, but not to the extent that you do, because I don't do the camping part anymore. But yeah, I think I got a taste last week. Last year, I went with a friend to the Virginia Creeper Trail, which is down on the South Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia border. There's a mountain range there, and it was all downhill from White Top Mountain all the way through Damascus to Abingdon. It was only about 30-something miles. But it was just a thrill, and I just enjoyed that, going that little bit further than what I do every day. I usually do somewhere between 10 and 15 most days at home. So then I got an appetite for doing something longer. And just a bigger bike, and knowing you, I knew you'd be the perfect biking partner if you had the time to do it. And we talked about, going off and doing different adventures, didn't we? We didn't know what they would look like. So this idea just sort of morphed into choosing a trail, really. And I think you chose the trail of the Potomac Heritage Trail is one that we could do. And I was thinking, we'll do the C&O Canal part of it, starting in Georgetown, Washington, D.C., and then going northwest to Cumberland Gap. But then you being, the true through hiker and doing things properly, you said, no, if we're going to do this, we have to start at the coast and go from the start to finish, the complete trail. So that's how it came about. And I have to say, every time I think about it, I have a smile on my face. I'm excited to do it, Mar. So, whether it takes 5, 6, 7 days, whatever it takes, and we don't know, as you said, how many miles that we can bike in a day. We're thinking probably 50 to 60 miles, in a good day. I mean, but we'll see. We'll find out. But the part that you failed to tell me until just now, Marci, is that we actually have to dip our toes
is to dip
in the
your toes
Chesapeake Bay.
where
That's the condition of it,
and then I don't know what we'll do to celebrate in Pittsburgh, but I'm sure we'll think of something. But for me, it's the excitement of not knowing how many days it's going to take, how many nights are we going to need to find lodging, find meals, are we going to need to find a bike shop, are we going to have repairs that need to be made? I mean, all these unknowns all rolled up into this trek that we've got. I think that's the most exciting part to me. But for me, when you said, I want to do this long distance trail, I'm into biking. I want to push myself, and I want to experience, I don't think you ever said I want to experience pain, but I kind of inserted that for you. I was like, well, you're going to experience pain, my friend. But to experience the whole thing coming together, it was kind of two birds in one hand for me. I chose the Potomac Heritage Trail, which links in, from Chesapeake all the way to Pittsburgh on these canal paths, because it's part of the 11 national scenic trails in the country. And I've got a personal goal that I want to be able to either hike or bike or some sort of non-motorized transportation on all 11 national scenic trails at some point in my lifetime. And us being able to accomplish this one would make number 3 for me. So I've got just a few more left, and I'm getting ready. After we do our trip on the Potomac Trail, I will be making an announcement about another National Scenic Trail that will be coming up in the very near future to make number 4. So slowly ticking these off the box. So for me, it was like, okay, well, how can I optimize this little goal of mine and be able to bring a really good friend with me and have the adventure of our lives where we can both combine the things that we love to do and really make a great adventure out of it. So that's what I'm excited about.
Yeah, me too. But, the other part of this was really motivating for us too, was when the war started in Ukraine. We both felt strongly about this. What could we do to help these poor, displaced and desperate people that are being evacuated from and leaving Ukraine? And we've came across, through a friend of mine actually, an organization, a charity called World Central Kitchen, which I must say, Marci, every time I mention this to local people anyway, they know of this organization that was started by Chef Jose Andres, a Spanish guy who lives here in Washington, D.C. with his wife. And they use the power of food to nourish communities and strengthen economies in times of crisis and beyond. So they go where there's a humanitarian need. And that could be in Central America. They've been to Guatemala and Haiti, during the hurricane. And now they're in not just the bordering countries of Ukraine, they're also in Ukraine now, feeding thousands of meals, of hot meals, hot nourishing meals every day to the Ukrainian refugees. So Marci and I thought there is no better organization to raise money for than this. How important is, it's one thing to have food, yourself when you're camping and you're hiking long distance, Marci, it's one thing to have a snack, something cold, but it's quite another thing to have a hot meal.
Yeah, I think that emotions and the heart swells around the table. And, with these displaced citizens, they've got nothing. And just to be able to have that on our mind as we think things are tough, here, or things are going to be tough on the trail, to know that these Ukrainians are, and the lucky ones, Chris, are able to walk, hundreds of miles to cross national lines and to be able to have a meal. So there's a lot of support there. And, to be able to see both Chef and some of his colleagues speaking on various news channels, supporting and showing video footage of what they're able to do. I think that it's an opportunity for us to be able to make this ride a little bit bigger than we are, and to give our thoughts to something else.
Yeah, definitely. It's super motivating. And I have to say we've raised almost $1,000 so far. And I did read on their Facebook page, the Facebook page of World Central Kitchen, that even $5 gets a meal for one of these people. So hopefully we'll be able to make some contribution now to their cause. So if you want to support us with the, how many miles did you say? 400 plus mile bike ride, Mars. You can do that on the Just Giving page that we've set up. That's justgiving.com, and then look for Riding for Ukraine. But if you want to type the whole thing in, it's justgiving.com/Riding for Ukraine. And there you can donate to Marci and my cause here, the bike ride, and support these poor people and make sure they get a hot meal every day. And I think every mile that we go, Marci, we're going to be thinking about these people. And I know you've got something for the photo shoots. Tell people how they can. We actually published. We'll post some of these photos along the way. Don't you think that would be fun? Because I'm sure there'll be lots of photo ops. But you've got something specially for the photo ops.
Yeah, we're working on having some bike jerseys be sent to us that say Riding for Ukraine as well. And, just be able to stand out a little bit. The great thing about it with some of these pathways that that they may not be highly populated during the middle of the week when most people are out working, but we will be riding along on a weekend. And that's where the paths are usually quite populated from folks coming in from Washington, D.C. and the city. So hopefully we'll be able to raise a little bit of awareness visually as well. But I hope that we are able to do not only photo ops, but also come back with some video blogs and, just some banter, some bike banter, if you will.
Some bike banter. Yeah, definitely. We'll have some bike banter. Hopefully some fun stories to tell. Fingers crossed the weather is kind to us. It'll be a little bit warmer than it currently is in both where you are in New Jersey and where I am in Virginia today as we record. It's meant to be warming up a little bit. Hopefully not too much rain, because we're going to be out there for the best part of a week, whichever way we cut it. It's going to be whatever it is. If it's rain, sunshine, whatever, we're going to have to take it. It's going to be fun. It's going to be the biggest adventure that I've ever done, and we'll see. But I have every confidence in thinking that after this, Marci, I'm going to get more ambitious. So be prepared for anything. This will kill me or cure me. And I have to say, it's a great way to be outdoors and to be raising money for such a worthwhile cause and satisfying an itch as well. So, Marci, I'm glad that it's contributing to your checklist of all those 11 goals that you have. And I'm excited. So next time that you come on the show and we talk about this ride, but we'll also be able to announce your new challenge.
That would be great. Yeah, looking forward to it. And I'm looking at my bike right now as we record, and I'm thinking, this is the only thing that's going to get me from point A to point B, and I better go clean it right now. Take good care of her.
Definitely take good care of her. We will be posting photos along the way on our social media with sports, but you'll be able to follow Marci and I. We have an Instagram account which we set up for these adventures, and that is Two Gaze, TWOGAYZE, Two Gaze, and that's where we'll be posting most of our videos and photos, and you'll be able to follow us along the way on the Potomac Heritage Trail. So I do hope you will, and I do hope you'll take a moment, just, whatever it is, the price of a cup of coffee, or as Marci says, a nice glass of wine, whatever you can afford, just to go to justgiving.com/riding for Ukraine and support the World Central Kitchen. That would make us very, very happy. Marci, what else do you have to do before we take off in 2 weeks' time?
I got to find out if I can ride more than 15 miles. I don't know if I can do that or not. And I probably shouldn't tell you that, but
I know you will.
Don't worry, my friend. I will figure out a way.
I have every confidence in you. Every confidence, Mars. And as I said earlier, there is no better person for me to be going on a long bike ride with than you. I absolutely have every confidence in you. And we'll have stories to tell, and we'll bring them back here to the show and share with you. But do join us along the way. So, Marci, thanks very much for coming on the show. We have to do this more often.
Well, thanks for letting me come along and trusting me to behave. I appreciate it.
At least on air, I know you will.
Absolutely. Thanks,
Chris. I will see you in 2 weeks' time out there when we ride. And for now, that's it for the news desk this week. Nancy will be back next week, I think, from her travels, and we'll be able to carry on with the regular news as we bring it to you from around the world of women's sports. But for now, do follow us on social media with sports. And Marci, just remind everybody where they can find you on social media.
Best way to find my hiking adventures are on Instagram at Blonde Bear Hikes. That's BLONDEBEAR Hikes. Blonde Bear Hikes.
Blonde Bear Hikes. All right, there you have it. And don't forget, Two Gaze as well is Marci and I's joint account. And we'll be back next week. So for now, thank you for listening wherever you are. Goodbye for now.